Right, thanks. All right, thanks everyone for being here today. My name is Jess Hagman. I am part of the Qualitative Social Sciences and Humanities Data Interest Group of iAssist. And in collaboration with our Professional Development Committee, we are delighted to host this is our final presentation, our 2025 series on qualitative data analysis technologies. Today, we will be hearing from Dr. Kian Chung about generative AI and qualitative data analysis, introducing the Guided AI Thematic Analysis, or GAITA framework. Dr. Nguyen Chung is from Monash University. I'm going to do just a little bit of background on who we are and invite you to join us in iAssist, which is the International Association for Social Science Information Service and Technology. We're in academic libraries or just academic institutions, government, nonprofit, and commercial organizations all over the world. Membership is $60 a year, and we do have a discount for those in developing countries as well. We have a number of interest groups in addition to our qualitative data interest group, as well as a very active listserv where people collaborate around data questions. And we also have a conference coming up in 2026. This year will actually be online, a virtual conference for which I'm excited. We also regularly meet in the US and also in other countries. We've recently been to in Canada, the UK. Conferences, they're really well done conferences. And so I encourage you to join us if you can. I don't know that we have the rates for registration for the online conference, but I'm sure it'll be very reasonable. Or if you're interested in presenting, proposals are due on December 19th. It's a really great group of people with a wide variety of interests in qualitative or in data, including qualitative data, but kind of issues around working with data. So we would be delighted to have you join us. Some of the other things that IASIS does, in addition to hosting programming and conferences, is a number of our members have been working on the Data Rescue Project to preserve US government and public data, as you may be aware, are in danger in the US. So we do have folks working on that. So this is the kind of thing that we do. This workshop, as well as all of the previous workshops in this series, will be available on our YouTube channel, and also the slides. And I will email those to everyone who registered, so you will have make sure you have the link for those. And we are actually that I have. Come on. I think that is the end of my slides, but I did want to mention that we are actually at the moment putting together our call for proposals for our next series in 2026. Just waiting for that blog post to get posted so I can share it. I will probably, if I can, include it in the email to you all who are registered. We'll be seeking speakers just to talk about kind of how they do qualitative data research, especially analysis with technology or not. So we're basically looking for the stories behind qualitative data analysis, open to folks from anywhere, any discipline, any type of data. So keep an eye out for that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our speaker. Thank you so much, Ken, for being here today. We're really looking forward to hearing from you.
Yep, thanks, Seth. And everyone, thank you very much. My name is Ken Nguyen Trung. So currently I'm Desi and research lead at water sensitive cities, Monash University, Australia. So my background is sociology, but also I'm really interested in qualitative methodologies, and I have worked with qualitative approaches since 2008, and yeah, really interested in doing research on this, and with the recent rise of generative AI as well. So I really eager to learn about um, what it can do and how we can use it in qualitative research. So not to postpone further, let me share the screen. Can you see slides? Yep. Oh, good. All right. So my presentation today is based on the paper that I published on GAITA. So I can call it GAITA. So it's a guided AI thematic analysis approach. So let's begin. So today I will be talking about three parts. The first is touching the rise of generative AI in qualitative data analysis, and then we talk about what is the GAITA, and then what is the specific case of using GAITA. All right. So first of all, I think that the context of generative AI is in qualitative research. So we know that since the release of ChatGPT as a public tool, there's a trend that using generative AI in qualitative data analysis, and I think that everyone knows Christina Seaver, and she projected by the time she projected that there are three scenarios where people could use generative AI in qualitative data analysis. And then we have the first scenario is a lot of current computer assisted software that integrates the power of generative AI into their software. So the systems we have NVivo with AI assistance, MarkQDA with AI assist and summary, and Atlas.ai with conversational AI. So these based on their own infrastructure, but use the power of AI to through API to get AI become a assistance in within their systems. The second scenario is to develop a new quality research apps, and in this they develop from the beginning and focus on using the power of generative AI, but develop a new entirely new apps that designed for the purpose of data analysis. And with it, we have code loop, for example, we have Q Insight, we have A Analyze. So a lot of apps currently developed recently. And the third scenario we have using AI chatbot. So a lot of general chatbot like we have ChatGPT from OpenAI, we have Claude from Anthropic, DeepSeek recently, Microsoft Pilot, or Grok. So a lot of chatbot can be used for data analysis, and can see that there are a lot of examples or experience out there already use this. So what are their potential? So I can see that in the current use of qualitative data analysis, there are a lot of applications that focus on innovating the way we conduct thematic analysis, particularly on innovating coding approaches. And we can see that a lot of applications have been devoted to reflexive thematic analysis, such as Rapal, De Pauli, Prescott, Hitch. They use the famous approach from Brown Clark, and then we have content analysis, graph theory, and recently there's some extent in phenomenology analysis. Our GAITA approach is an adaptive version of templates analysis proposed by King and colleagues since 1994. And the second trend, we see that there's an application of non-coding approach where some propose, for example, David Morgan's, Susan Freeze proposed that if manual coding of data segments has been dominant paradigm in qualitative analysis. And then with the rise of generative AI like ChatGPT, Morgan said that this query with ChatGPT can be a threat to current dominant paradigms. And Susan Fries also see that there's a potential for the shifts in beliefs in the way we approach data analysis from coding to non-coding approach. And currently we have a few attempts where people using develop new frameworks that working with generative AI through non-coding or conversational methods. For example, David Morgan developed query-based approach through the process of prompting, asking through dialogues to get the themes. And then Susan Free's conversational analysis with AI also go through the circular iterative process to surface the themes and understand better the data analysis, the themes in the data. We also propose approach called narrative integrated thematic analysis called or NITA. So NITA also focus on kind of thematic analysis, but go through non-coding approach where we develop themes through the process of interacting with AI. Um, so let's move on to the GAITA analysis. So GAITA is the Guided AI Thematic Analysis. So this is based on the paper that I published in June 2025. This is has was been a preprint before this publication, so has been there for a while. In this, we propose a few frameworks, including GAITA is a process of an adaptive version of templates analysis. And then propose, for example, actor framework is some kind of framework to do the prompting. We will come down to that part later. So GAITA's since the publication of the papers was long ago, so I have developed further the process to do the data analysis with GAITA. So this now have six stages. The first stage is the planning. The perfect is a type of procedure that help you monitor evaluation and learning from interacting with your data. I will come to that part later. This consider as a type of preparation, planning, and design the research. Preparation is where you come to interact with the systems, interact with the data set, prepare the data set ready for the use of AI, and prepare for the system of instructions and develop the customized prompts. Um, Stage three is start with data familiarizations. So this is where you get familiar with your data. It's a crucial part in everything that's even with the appearance of generative AI, we still keep it a core component of our data analysis. So this is help you to learn about your data before interact with AI. So in this, we also use of AI to generate different form of summaries or to visualize common topics, visualize data nuance in the data set. Stage four is where you focus on coding the templates. So like the approach by proposed by King, we start coding with the first transcripts and then we apply that to the rest of the transcripts. And then stage five is template formation and refinement, where we develop clusters based on the list of codes, and then we further develop templates by definition, by further develop through subcodes. And stage six is where we generate the themes and using narrative to develop further the themes, turn that into the narrative that can be used in academic output. So this is six stages of GAITA, and how should we do it? Let's go to the examples. So in this example, I use a sample project published by Lumivero. So this is a project called Multi-Methods Environmental Change in Taoist. So this is the project that's conducted in 2009 and focus on environmental change in Taoist, Catholic country, North Carolina. And this project is contains 11 interviews, short interviews. Each interviews is having about 2,000 words. And the research question that I choose here is the research question from my is for the serving the purpose of analysis rather than the original research question by the authors. The question is how do people connect to Taoist, and this will help guide the entire analysis. The data set slide set is including 11 short interviews, and in total it's around 20,000 words. And each transcript is a 6 page long and about 2,000 words, and they already structured by topic. So in this experiment, I use the first two topics, Q1 and Q2, connection to Taoist, connection to Taoist natural environment to answer the research question posed above. So let's move on to step one, where we plan the initial perfect procedure. So Paulus and Lester propose that when we work with digital methods, digital tools, sometimes it's about we adapt the tools to serve our research purpose. But with the presence of the new tools, we also need to adapt our research approach. And further, if needed, we also need to adapt our research methodology to be able to feature or incorporate generative AI. So Perfect is a processor that I developed as a core of research process, and it's run through 7 components. So first component is purpose. Is where we identify the purpose that we can work using Gen AI. So to be clear, not every research objective can be used with generative AI. For example, if you want to use like generative AI do the analysis for me, so it's not the case because we want to remain as the author, the one that responsible for the analysis. So we need to identify the specific objectives that we can use generative AI without make it conflicts with the principle of qualitative research. The second is envision. So envision is when we have the objectives, we want to envision how can we reach the objectives. So that could be laid out the process of different activities to reach the objectives, including how we interact with generative AI to reach them. Realize where we think of the use of AI. So generative AI is have the strength in it can generate text, image, mind maps, flowcharts. So a lot of outputs that we can think of, and we need to think how we can use them. So realize a step where you think of AI expecting output that you can use to further your analysis. Formulate is where you think of how to formulate the prompts to obtain the outputs, how to optimize these. Experiment is the interactive, continuously experiments with the Gen AI to be able to reach the result that you set. Check and reflect is where you critical check and reflect the output, ensure that you verify the output, you verify the accuracy, but also try to check and reflect on whether you would arrive at different conclusion, different assumption than AI. So, and this is the key part of the process because it maintain our reflexivity. Tool is where you adapt the prompts, adapt the research purposes if needed. So it's a process where we change, adapt during the process of interacting with AI. So as you can see that this process is iterative and it stay and remain throughout the process, even though it's called state one, but you can use it as a framework to guide AI throughout the process of analysis. So this is one of the application case where you develop is in the Google Spreadsheet or Microsoft Excel, where you develop a space like this. So you can see that purpose, envision, realize where you provide the input. So this is I call researcher space because it's where you brainstorm, you develop based on your needs. So it means that any different researchers with different research needs will come with different type, purpose, and vision and realize. And then formulate is experiment is where you come into the human AI interaction space, where you interact with AI to obtain your output. Check and reflect and tune is where you come back to research your space to be able to dissect, to use the suggestion from AI to further the analysis. It's not that generative AI's output is the final output, but rather than is something in between, something that help you further your analysis. So I generally consider it's a kind of AI sandwich where you have connect your research strategies with software tactics. and you keep him in the loops for designing, developing, monitoring, evaluation, and learning with AI. You don't lose your intellectuals, your own interpretations throughout the process. So in this, for example, when you think of the perfect, is it kind of the contain many mechanism or strategy to mitigate the ethical challenges. For example, you can use the perfect as an audit trail to allow you document any steps, any process that you interact with AI, and what change made, and what decision made during the process and why. Reflexive journal is allow you to record your reflexive thinkings and through the check and reflect, and but also any space where you can record on your reflexivities on code, on memos, things like that. Transparency and accountabilities. So perfect is the process where you record everything that you did with AI. So it help you provide and demonstrate to the reviewers, editor, supervisor what you did and what AI contribute, where is your the AI contribution, what is your contribution as well. Perfect, we have used Perfect to create a working space where we share among the team. So you can use this for teamwork and also allow two or more members to do the analysis independently and also come up and discuss with each other. So in stage one, we also consider different type of ethics considerations. So in here, I call LEAP PVD framework. So LEAP PVD framework is consider different aspect of ethical challenges in considering legal aspects where you see that whether the legal frameworks allow the use of generative AI or ethical guidance. You concerned with the ethical guidelines for using AI in research. For example, we see that COPE or general policies are something that relevant to our doing research in qualitative research. Ethical guidelines from your own institutional review boards, where they provide the guideline how to incorporate generative AI in research in general, but also in qualitative research in particular. So the key question here is how do we ensure the responsible and ethical use of AI tools in research is important. And the next step is normally we apply for ethics application and ethic clearance. So to do so, we normally have to develop some key documents, for example, ethical explanation statements addressing AI risks and measures. How do we use the mitigation measure to address the ethical challenges if we are going to use AI? Permission is a step where you send out the ethical document package to participants to ask for their consent form before using AI. So I think that these are kind of key parts where you need to ensure you're doing so before you use AIs. Otherwise, you if you don't have this kind of step, it's really hard to use AI later on. Privacy is where you enter the process where you conduct the data analysis with AI, and the key question here is how you ensure data and privacy, data rights, protects personal information during the process that you upload information to AI systems. Verification is where throughout the process of data analysis, you need to verify, check on AI generated output because we know that AI generated output can be vulnerable to bias, hallucination. Disclosure is something that you do after you present in any research outputs. So right now, journals already compile have their section where you need to do the disclosure of AI use, which models you use, how do you use them, what kind of tools you use, and how do you make sure that you verify them. So all of this can be done through the process of using Perfect, right? So state one also there's some framework that I can share with you with the actor framework where this is the framework that there are a lot of prompting out there, prompting techniques out there. But in here, I consider that there are five aspects that we need to consider. First of all, is actor is where you specify the roles of ChatGPT or AI to do the data analysis. For example, if you are research assistant, you are research expert in this in that, so it's kind of helping to specify the domain that generative AI can refer to during the process of data analysis. Context where you provide the background information about the research project, about the research task, such as research questions, or you also provide information regarding the research concept that you want to provide to you might want AI to use and process throughout the process of data analysis. For example, you can provide the definition of code, definition of themes that can be helpful for AI to differentiate or apply throughout the process. Task is where you specify specific actions that ChatGPT or AI can expect to perform. For example, can you summarize this transcript, or can you explain that? Output is where you define the specific format, type output that you want from AI. For example, it can be really simple from can you summarize this in three key bullet points, in 400 word summaries, or in a table, in a pie chart, in the flow charts, something like that. So each of the outputs is considered as contribute different type angles that we can see the data. Reference where you specify where is the source that AI need to look at. For example, here the transcript, here the examples that you need to look at to produce the output that we require. So this is type 5 component that I normally use in the process, and you may have different type of promptings. That no problem. I think that is more important is that you find the right type prompts that you use and explain well the process and research purpose that you want from AI. Stage two is where you prepare data and generative AI systems. So the process of prepare the data is basically to anonymize or pseudonymize the data. So you don't want to import all the data with personal information into AI systems, and you want to anonymize or pseudonymize them to protect our participants. So in our research experiments, we have the transcript already pseudonymized, I think, and it already format, and this will help us to see it in a consistent form. And also, it's clear, and I think that it's advisable that any researchers, if we want to do the data analysis, the first step is to clean up the transcripts and make some formatting so that we can have the consistent format for throughout the data set. After preparing the data set, we also prepare the GenAI system where we do some data security setup. For example, in generative AI, we have some model, some chatbot now they have the function where you need to tick the opt-out, opt-in for data for training. So if you don't do that, they will use all the data for training. So for example, in ChatGPT, you need to turn off improve the model for everyone, and similar for Claude or Gemini. And then you set up the can set up the systems where you provide the introduction. We provide the what traits you should require ChatGPT or AI to behave. For example, I use the guides framework to guide what are the behaviors that should be followed. For example, guidelines provide some specific ethical guidelines. For example, do not make up data, and understanding of key concept. Integrity is follow the the data ethics documents referencing is reference a specific document that we upload. Expression is type expression. For example, you don't need to capitalize all the headings, for example. And suggestion is whether it is open to creative or behave exactly what we require to do, or be a little bit more creative. Anything ChatGPT should know about you is I use the role framework where we specify the role that we we doing in the type research. So in each of the projects, you can set up different type roles. Objectives is what we aim to achieve. Lexicon is type language that we use. For example, some would like to work with British English, some would like to work with American English, and similar with other type language. For example, if you need to work with database across different languages. Ethics is emphasize the importance of ethics in the research, and also introduce our research goals, jargons, ethics standard that you we want to use. In AI, you can have two type setups. You can either customize GPT through you can create the GPT that applies GAITA or apply the research approach that you follow, or you can create the projects like the both to guide the process. So in here you can insert your instruction, provide some instruction that guide AI behaviors, or and you can also upload the transcript or upload the data set that you want to it to reference to. Um, Similarly, the project feature in ChatGPT or Cloud both have the function where you can upload the data and guidance for AI. So I think that this will help customize, set up the AI system where it do not rely on the data set, pre-trained data set, but rather focus on the document that you provide and set up. So by this way, it can reduce hallucinations and help improve the accuracy. Similar in clouds, you also have the similar function like projects. So you can upload the data set in here to fine tune your data. Um, Stage three is where you focus on data familiarizations. So the purpose of this is try to be familiar with the data, to be able to understand the data, but also to judge what AI produce. So the expected outcome of this state is you understand the data, you're familiar with this, so that you can use the generative output from AI as suggestion rather than something that guide you or lead you to the conclusion. So this is really important. So in data, in this stage, we also can use AI to create different type summaries to help you see different angles. So, for example, can you please provide a summary of this interview? So it means that we focus on prompt that understand one's interviews, and we can use that like kind of zero shot prompt where we don't provide any kind of guidance of the output, but we also have the type of guidance. For example, you provide in three key bullet points, in 400 words, in 300 words, or different type summaries. And you also can ask it to provide the visualization of the output. So different type prompt can help you see different type angles and cross-check with your understanding of data in the previous stage. So this is kind of the summary that given by GPT-4 by that time. So even now they have the GPT-5. I see not so much difference in this type capability. ChatGPT can provide the summaries of transcripts in different type formats, three bullet point or different type summaries, and it can surface the topics or the themes here, but it's not yet. We can come to that later, but you can see that it can surface the themes at the first stage. So stage four is where we focus on preliminary coding. So in this stage, the purpose is to assign labels codes to the relevant data and to expect outcome that we arise at the initial list of codes, the revised list of code after coding all the transcript, and the list of code that capture relatively all the nuances that in the data. So the task for AI is we start with the same procedure that template analysis provide. So it means that we start with a first subset of the transcripts, and then we go for the rest of the remaining transcript. So the first transcript, we can use this prompt. You are quality research assistant actor. Is specify the roles. You help me identify the relevant codes from the following transcripts in response to the research questions. How do these people connect to Taoist? Is provide the research context or research question that to direct AI, and then we provide the definition. For example, we capture some the coding definition from Yoni Saranya. Code is the labels assign some multiple salience, essence, capturing meaning to the portion of data. So this provides the basic understanding of the concept. And then we specify the final output. So the final output should be something like this. Column one is the code. Column two is description of code meaning. Column three is a quotation. So these are three key parts that I see that important to maintain our understanding of what AI produce. Code is basically is specify the labels, but also we have the description of code meaning to understand the underlying meaning, underlying patterns here, and quotation is maintain the evidence that we can check and see in the code transcripts. So this type of revise of code after I revise from GPT coding list, you can see that there are a lot of change. There's some change here because I combine with my understanding of the coding as well. So basically, we don't use code to create some kind of representative or a great coding, but I can see that coding is still an act of interpretation, and what ChatGPT or AI suggest here is only suggestion and provide us food for thought, and we use that to further understanding and provides our own interpretation as well. So in this list of codes, ChatGPT identify a few, for example, family connection, duration of residency, connection as non-local, attraction to community, and so on. And for example, you can see that it provide like the code like condition as non-local. But when we dig into the data, we see that Barbara or the first participant here, you see consider that I'm definitely not considered as local, even though I feel kind of local. So in here, the emphasis that Barbara give to the interviewer is not like she's not non is non-local, but she feel they see as like local. So that is something that I see that is important to capture rather than the first part of the code like ChatGPT gave here. So it means that we only consider what ChatGPT or AI provide as a suggestion for to interpret the data better, rather than just accept what it's provide. So in here another part that we can intervene and guide AI is to diversify the coding techniques to capture different nuance in the data. And we know that, for example, in Johnny Sharanya coding manual, he identified over 20 type coding techniques that we can capture. So in here, you can provide a prompt. So this is not from the paper, but I developed further in the paper. Um, revise the coding tables of codes above by apply three type codes. So we identify the type techniques that we want to apply. For example, in vivo code is code that capture verbatim words or phrase or direct quotes from the interviewees. Emotion code is code that capture the feelings. Process code is code that capture actions, for example. So they are the technique that we have AI to capture different type of things. If we don't provide this, it only focus on the descriptive code. It means that the code only focus on nouns or phrase of nouns. So for example, in here, you can see that is a type quotation from Linda and Charles. And in here, I want to focus on in vivo code or process code. So in vivo code, for example, Charles said, I have lived over the country over the years, but I miss the sound water. So in here, miss the sound water is a very important aspects of what Charles provide here. So I can see that is important in vivo code. And the other part is the very strong urge where Charles said that I have been in the south water in other place, but I have a strong urge to come back to Taoist because it's a part of in me, for example. So very strong urge is the code that represent really the in vivo code that represented really meaningful motivation that Charles have when he talk about the connection with Taoist. Or process code is something the code that focus on action, for example. For example, he said that I should walk straight, walk dry out in the water after I come to the Taoist. So it's visiting the water is we turn the using verb in to turn the statement into the type verb in phrase to have document the action. And the other part, when Shagler said, I also and spend the first day doing some market research, and then next day I make decision to buy the house. So we can capture it with making a decision to buy a house. So it means that with the guy from coding techniques, we can guide AI to capture different type nuance that it may be overlooked if we don't provide the instruction. So after that, we can use the list of code to code the remaining transcripts. So simply we say now apply the revised coding framework based on the interview with Barbara in the first interview. And the final output is we remain the same table with code description, interview codes. And then when doing so, we ask it to maintain the code order so that we can check and we can compare across different transcripts, and we also ask it to mark new codes with asterisks and update the description to be able to capture the new information. So in this, it will produce some kind of table like this. And you can see that we have the initial code from Barbara's first transcripts. But when we go further across the older transcripts, we have a revised list of codes where new codes are added after each round coding. So this will help us to produce a refined list of code after the stage 4. And then we go to stage 5, where we focus on template formation and refinement. So I separated here to focus on to differentiate between coding and clustering and developer templates. Where templates I consider is not just clustering the codes, but also to define the cluster as well, which provides a specific understanding of clusters. So the expected outcomes of this is initial template with the list of codes organized into meaningful clusters, a revised templates with the list of code organized in meaningful cluster, but with more detailed codes and subcodes. And we also produce a final template with the list of codes organized in meaningful cluster after we revise, rearrange, analyze the codings and cluster. So this start with the first prompt where we build based on our previous list of codes. So we say from the following refined list of codes, please group codes into clusters, and we practice is more abstract codes. So in here we need to use sometimes we need to use probably direct language for AI to understand. Not on way we need to input the academic definition. Pre-group goes into cluster in response to research question. How do these people connect to DAOist? So you can see that we maintain research question throughout the process to make sure that it doesn't go except context window and AI forgot about it. And for each character, please maintain the specific codes and quotation. So we want to maintain the evidence throughout the process. And we say if two or more transcripts share cluster, group them so that we develop abstraction rather than we lose the data. And if you don't provide this guidance, maybe AI can simplify data and only include one transcripts, for example. The final output is a cluster codes, description of cluster meaning, and quotation. So previously we already have the description of code meaning. So now we focus on cluster meaning and we maintain the quotation as well. And prompt, next prompt is where we try to refine the templates by developing subcode. So the purpose of this is that we imagine that we have now we have the older cluster from the list of code. Now we need to refine further because the list of code is still poor, and we need to come back to the data set to further develop by for example develop further subcodes, develop new codes or develop new cluster. So in prompt 5.2, we'll ask I need you to further develop the coding table above by generate subcodes for each code based on the quotation I gave you. And the task here is to place each quotation under a suitable subcodes, create a new subcodes as needed. And the final table is code cluster codes, subcodes, subcode description, and quotation. So you can see that the emphasis is shift from cluster to subcode to further understand different nuance in the data sets. So here is an example that you can see that on the left is the initial templates with only 5 clusters. And it groups initial templates into 5 clusters, including family connection to place, cultural connection, community engagement, appreciation of environments, and advocacy for local industry. So in here, the prompt 5.2 is try to work with each cluster to further develop those cluster. For example, we focus on the first cluster, family connection to place. So in here, you can see that on top right, you can see that ChatGPT have further recode that cluster, and you can see there more codes added. For example, family history, it have early childhood relocation, generational residents, long-term family present, new generational roots, and similar something like that. So in here, we bring back to the Google spreadsheet where we work and redefine the cluster, and we work with that, and we make arrangement around, and we have the cluster that rearrange. For example, we arranged generational resident and long-term family present together and make it generational ties. And we also turn new generation roots into the new family integration. And similar with share and code. So throughout this process, we further refine and develop the cluster, and a lot of works here done through the Google spreadsheet that you develop, not just through AI. And this is a final template that we developed. Note that I already omitted the description and the quotation for the purpose of presentation. You can see that the final template is contain 5 cluster, and then it's contain different type codes and subcodes. The subcode is the specific way to capture different nuance in the data set that might be lost during the process of abstraction. And stage six is where after you already have the cluster, you have the subcode, you understand the data, you're ready to develop teams. So I separate teams development because we don't want AI to mistaken between cluster and teams because otherwise it can, taken team and cluster is the same. So in this stage, we want to develop teams in order to interpret the data. And particularly, we want to come back to answer research question, how do people connect to DAOs? And the process here that we ask is from the above table of cluster, please generate teams across the cluster and codes in response to research questions. So the key here is we don't want to just turn cluster to teams, but we want to see that team also connect to codes and the data as well. And we provide the team definition like team is recurrent distinctives, features of participants' accounts linked to the context. This is provided by King and colleagues. The final output could be a table like this. Column one is team, column two is cluster and codes grouped together. Um, Column three is description of teams meaning, and column four is quotation of transcripts. You can see that the focus here is focused on teams, but also we maintain the links between cluster, code, and quotation. So here is the final themes table that it produced. You can see that here we focus on the theme meanings. For example, generational historical continuity is described as individuals' connection to Taoist, often anchored in family history with deep generational roots and new family integration into community, emphasize continuity that spans decades and even centuries. So the key purpose here that the teams is not just cluster, but it's more like based on the connections between cluster and codes and also the meaning behind that. And the key here that we need to guide AI to connect the code together into the description. So above is six stages that of the GAITA and the work examples. And before I conclude this discussion, I just want to mention that recently we have the open petition by Jose and Victoria Clark, Virginia Brown, and colleagues calling for the rejections of generative AI in qualitative research. And if you want to in this debate, I already document the debates in this document in preprint. Share with you can share with you later. But we one of the questions that we normally receive is whether Jakarta is reflexive. And one of the question from Victoria Clark when she wrote our paper NITA is that whether NITA is a reflexive analysis. And what we consider is that NITA is NITA or GAITA. The approach I presented here is actually the type of reflexive thematic analysis, although cannot branch as the reflexive thematic by Brown Clark. It's more like it's use a lot of principles by reflexive thematic analysis, but also based on the pragmatism, and it should be considered as in between thematic analysis, where it more flexible with the use of technology like AI. Um, and probably I will go quickly with this. This imagination of the current situations of thematic analysis. So you can see that this is a type classification by Brown Clark, where they consider that current thematic analysis is from small q to big qs. Um, and non-positivist TA is including anything from templates analysis, matrix analysis, framework analysis to reflexive thematic analysis by Brown Clark. In this process, we have coding reliabilities such as guess in colleagues or Voyages. We have matrix analysis by Mouse Huberman's framework analysis by Richie Spencer's, and recently we have from Gales and colleagues in 2013 papers, template answered by King colleagues, and then we have any reflexive thematic analysis But also, I consider that any thematic analysis with reflexive components, consider reflexivity as key part of the analysis is reflexive thematic analysis, not reflexive thematic analysis by Brown-Clark, but reflective analysis with um, purpose of create the great team. So I consider that recent trend in incorporating generative AI is a new trend, and it's still fall within the classification, but there's some differentiations between those. Coding reliability AI supporting thematic analysis is UAI to classify and replicate coding. So it means that they want to produce codings create across the data set and want to check that using, for example, intercoder agreement check remain the same. But there's our GAITA should be considered as non-positivist thematic analysis, where it's situated in between, and it's considered the use of other non-coding approach like NITA, like CAI and QBA by Morgan and Friesen is part of the using incorporating GenAI in analysis, but it different from coding reliability approach. So that is my presentation today. Probably a bit too long, but hopefully that can give everyone some ideas of what we are doing with GAITA and recent research. Thank you very much.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
You had referred to Brown and Clark several times, and you had a screen in there with your references that flew by quickly. Which
Mm.
was it a single Brown and Clark article that you were referring to each time, or were there multiple? And which article was it?
The one that I cited here is the one that based on the LinkedIn debate. I can share that with you. But what type? Is that what you are asking?
Yeah, I'd like the site for the article that you were referring to for Brown and Clark.
I think Brown Clark is haven't engaged or produced any type papers using Gen AI, but they only produce the reasons opposition's approach, opposition open letter and commentary that oppose the EU of AI.
Oh, I
And
see.
yeah, I share that via chat window. Then you see that I document every debate around the open letter and commentary. Yeah.
Okay. Is that all cited in your references page on your PowerPoint deck?
Sorry.
I would like to look at the authority. So you 5 or 6 times you've referred to Brown and Clark, and now you've just
Mm,
given me an explanation of what you were talking about when you did that. How would
mm.
I find out more? Is that listed in your references?
Yeah, I already give you in the links of the open letter that they
Is that in the
recently
chat
produced.
section?
Yeah, in the chat section, you can
Okay,
see
thank
that
you.
there's a lot of debates that I
Okay,
document through the process. And
thank you.
yeah, in future we will update this with more research papers. So currently, I see it is kind of social media debates, but will soon be pick up in academic forum for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
You have time for more questions? I see we're right at the hour, but if you have to run, we can. But I imagine folks may have more
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, I think that I am happy to receive some questions.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
Michael, did you want to pose a question?
Thank you for the talk. That was very interesting. I appreciated the structured framework. The wonderment I still had was whether, so you sort of talked about guarding against hallucinations or the AI being inconsistent in its coding. I wonder what part of the framework sort of makes sure it is saturating everything, or how we can help prompt to make sure we're not missing something when we're relying on it to do some of the thematic discovery for us.
Mm. Yeah, that's really good question. I think that the key part for me in this is the use the perfect, where I developed some kind of the Google spreadsheet that monitor every output that I use with AI. And for example, we use it to record different rounds of codings, and what we record and what we rearrange, that is important, and follow the process that I said here. We First of all, we code the first subset of transcripts, and then we use that list of code to code the rest of the transcripts, and then from there we have the final list of codes. But we revise this continuously throughout the process of clustering and develop the templates. For example, you have the list of code and you develop an into cluster, and then from there the clusters not stay at the same, but you use that to prompt further into subcodes. And I think this is important because when you have the list of code, you develop subcode. It means that you have to do some not just abstraction but division, and this throughout this process we come back reading the data set of the transcript, and we get more data, and we check whether the code is actually the reflect the aspect in the data. And I think that it's also revised throughout the each of the process. So not sure if that answer your question, but I mean, throughout the process, I hope it's kind of the space where I continuously come back to the data set, come back to the AI, and work together to check the information.
I was wondering if you had mentioned, well, I just want to say I appreciate your discussion so much. And like Michael said, the frameworks and the attention you really paid to the different types of qualitative work and the different epistemological kind of foundations, the like diversity of qualitative work, because there's no one answer to this question about using AI.
Yeah.
Um, I wondered, you spoke about needing to like have a way of kind of explaining like what was you and what was the AI in your interpretation.
Mm,
What does that look like in practice? Like it sounds a little bit like maybe memoing, like in kind of the more traditional methods and reflection, but um, I'm just, what does it look like for you, or what would you advise for other people?
mm. I think one of the things that I observed, even with the recent model, is that um, AI is not this kind of general chatbot is not trained to do data analysis for quality purposes. So normally when it comes to coding, clustering, and themes, it's only stay at descriptive level. So, for example, it when it's come to coding, it's always come up with noun phrase or nouns. For example, connection, family, history, but it doesn't say what is actually family, history, what is actually in there. So it means that it's always there space for researchers to really take that descriptive level to interpretive levels where we use our purposes. And one of the another example is that when we develop our NITA papers, when we develop non-coding approach, we there's another researcher we identify that in the first stage, it identifies new themes called resistant to development, and that really connects really resonate with our experience of researcher where we experience the rural development where a lot of rural residents they resist to the development, and we realize that all right, that really true that resistant to development is represent the deep bit connection to Taoist, to the place of development, because they show really show that that is the why they protect the areas. So I think that there's the space where we use our reflexive reflection to come from our own position to reflect and interpret the data. And I think that it's our responsibility to maintain that and provide some contribute something rather than just you whatever AI provide.
Thank you. So no, I have like a lot more questions, but I want to let other folks jump in.
I think Renata, sorry if I'm saying the name wrong, put a question in the chat.
And that's right. It's pretty long. So perhaps it's
Yeah.
pages. go for it because I was typing while I was listening to your presentation. Thank you so much. It was very insightful. But I think that Michael's question was a little bit like touch it on a few things and also the follow up. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, like one question that I had was about the reliability of the results, given that sometimes we submit the same prompt multiple times and we get different answers. I understand that some of these tasks might be very structured. So I wonder
mm,
if that would require, on top of the large language model, at least like my experience is very minimal at this point, but when I tried, I didn't have like structured pictures like to prompt. It was, kind of a free form. So in that
mm,
case, would that require to set up agents and have those kind of tasks as a README file, like very structured, but then that the researcher would have to revisit because it's the natural process as we learn with the data. And the second part of my question, it's more related to the aspect that like we learn as we go the data as
mm,
researchers analyzing transcripts and sometimes listening again to audio recordings. So in that experience, we have the reflection, and we go back, and like we have those. It's a very iterative, and it's not linear.
yeah.
So in that case, how can AI mimic this behavior, or at least um, provide some outputs that are going to be a little bit more relatable to how we interpret things.
Mm,
And if for ethical considerations, don't agree with like training the model, because then how can the data learn from the data as we interpret things and understand things? I'm
mm.
sorry, it's very long, and I have
Yeah.
so many other questions. I think it's a fascinating topic. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you for that. I will try to answer some of them. I'm not sure I can answer all, but I think the process of setting up the systems is pretty important in here that because um, my understanding is that every researcher have different type needs and objectives, and when it comes to specific projects, we need to customize the system so that it understand our jobs, our purpose in these projects. And I think that is will really helpful when we provide the instruction in the as a knowledge base for it to behave. For example, I just take one simple example that I always add this instruction into the systems, always bold what you change. And in the process, you provide me two versions. One is track change version, and the other clean version, and provide the explanation of what you had changed and provide. So I found it's really important for me to monitor what AI have interfered with the data and provide the suggestion. And it helped me make decision on how should I move forward from using the initial output that AI provide. And that is something that I use a lot to our process. And and that is the first question. What is the second question? Forgot. Um, uh, what is second question again?
Okay. Oh, let me I'll recall.
We
Sorry, I was
both
like
forgot about the
very
question.
long. Yeah. So the other one was about like for ethical considerations, you are not going to like train the model with the
Mm,
data.
mm,
How can you guarantee that the process it's because I understand the automation like of
mm,
merge those codes, those things that would be like clicks. I
mm.
understand, but as far as
Yeah.
like giving new tags, creating new things, or not creating, yeah, but generating things from the text. But if we are
Mm,
not feeding the model, so the model
mm,
is improving,
mm.
so
Yeah.
mimic a learning process as a researcher exploring the data. So it's not just
Mm.
like a one-time lateral coding without kind of creating the connections.
Yeah, I'm
Does
not
it
sure
make
if I
sense?
can answer and understand it, but I think that's um, it is there no way we can guarantee the data security for all of the things that we upload to AI. But what I see that there are always some option that with more security measures than the others. For example, we can do our best to provide the data security measures that can safeguard what we provide. For example, anonymize or pseudonymize the data set is a must, or apply for data ethics clearance before we doing that, or something like I see that it's more important is that to cut personal information through the transcripts, because we know that normally the interviews start with who you are, and what you're doing, and where you live, and what is your family situation, something like that. And I think that normally we don't really need to use those for the data analysis with AI. We know normally want to go directly to the context. For example, the question is what is the connection to Taoist? So they provide the connection rather than provide, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I have a family and siblings, something like this. It's very sensitive things that we need to do. So I think that in the formatting and prepare data for AI, we should remove them to avoid the sensitive things information shared with the AI system. And the other part is that currently I see that different type security option. For example, AI is integrated in, for example, MaxQDA and before, and each of those parties already provide the promise that they would protect the data, and data is not transferred to AI's OpenAI, for example. So that add another layer of data security there. And recently, I see that there's some model they train on the legal, ethical, and copyright materials, and they can provide you option to work with local AI systems. It means that it's only run on your computers. It don't export data to other systems. So I think that another data security layer that we can apply. Not sure if that answered the questions.
No, it did. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll be definitely mainly soon connecting to
Mm,
clarify some other questions.
mm.
Are there anyone else who'd like to bring up a question? And yes or no, I agree about the IRB. I don't know what it's like where you are, but we don't have a lot of been looking for guidance on this, and it seems to be treated like any other technology in the sense that like, well, if it's just on your computer, but I
Mm,
think the ethical issues are so much more than just like, is this data protected? Like that is an important one, but also, what does it mean to your participants when you're like, I don't know, like I think some people, if you told them I'm going to analyze your data with ChatGPT, they'd be dubious and maybe less likely to
mm.
participate. So yeah, but where I am, there hasn't been much guidance there yet, so I'm hoping for more soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel that we even passed the requirement of like explicit consent for like sharing the data and yeah, we are not there yet with AI.
Hmm.
Definitely, we need to
Definitely.
improve, yeah,
Mm,
the guidelines.
mm. I think that is area that we need to further develop. Currently, there's not so many research papers or guidance that guide how we should apply it. But from my experience, is about to develop, first of all, explanatory statement of the AI risks. So, for example, we need to explain to our research participant and also our advisory board that what the risks of using AI. We need to anticipate any risks that could arise from the use of AI. And then the key part is that to develop key mitigation measures. So what is the measure, what is strategies that we can address the risks? For example, data security, data privacy, is we use anonymizations or pseudonymizations to protect our participants, for example, or we use different type data security layers to protect. So that is kind of thing that we need to apply and to our the process of data analysis. Yeah, but obviously no standardized guidelines or thing like that available.
Um, Barring any other pressing questions, I think we probably should let you go. We've taken a lot of your time. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. I very much appreciate the clarity and the kind of just the formalization of this conversation and tracking the scholarly discussion. I think that's really important. Um, as you know, it seems like we've got a new thing developing with AI every day. So understanding how that, how that has happened, I think will be very important. So thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for being here, even if it's in a strange time in your time zone. We greatly appreciate it. And please do keep an eye out for those of you who don't do research yourselves. I will most likely in the email that I send you include both the link to this presentation and the recording, the slides, as well as our upcoming series where we'd love to hear more from everyone about just what you do with qualitative data analysis, whether that's with technology or old school. All right,
Thank you,
thanks.
Jess. Thank you very much for organizing this, and thank you everyone for being here and sharing your thoughts. Thank you very much.